It's a privilege for me to introduce to you Dr. Chris Tarver, who's Executive Director at the City of Hope. And I'd like to work at some place that was titled the City of Hope, because it just feels like every time you walk in, it kind of gives your heart a little resuscitation for the day. So Chris is, now she says she has 30 years of experience. She doesn't look old enough. So I think this is a typo on her bio, but she's, a wonderful advocate. And remember, Anita said advocacy and, mentoring, all those things are so important. Well, there you've got right on your screen, and you're going to hear from someone who really models those behaviors. And she has, been very active in the magnet. So Chris, I want you, first thing out of your mouth, I want you to clarify the 80% BSN requirement for magnet status, because I think, some of us, those in the baccalaureate world, grabbed onto that. But anyway, Chris is a leader and a contributor every time she is able to. So welcome, Chris, to the presentation. And I should give you an official name of hers. She says, don't cancel yourself. Did that pique your attention as to what are we doing? How are we canceling ourselves? So we're looking forward to finding out. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, thank you, Robin. And it's a pleasure to be here this morning. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, great. I use my phone, so I have a phone over here and whatever. And so, yeah, before I start sharing screen, I'll demystify the whole 80% situation. So in the original Future of Nursing report, which is now unbelievably 10 years old, there is one section of it which talks about education in nursing and the research supporting that if you have more BSN nurses, you have better patient outcomes on the nursing units. And so 80% was set as a goal to achieve 80% BSN or above nurses doing patient care. And so ANCC aligned with, it was IOM at the time, Future of Nursing, and said that they wanted hospitals to develop the plan to get to 80% BSN. There was no hard and fast date. You didn't have to get there by a certain amount of time. It was just they wanted to see movement towards higher education. And really, that supports nursing as a profession, right? Because the plans that people made usually involve things like tuition reimbursement. Anita was talking about loan support. I think people are finally starting to look at that happening, or loan forgiveness, setting up partnerships with schools of nursing to have programs brought on site, to have tuition discounts for your employees. And so that's what it's all about. There's no rule. You don't have to have a certain percent of BSNs. There are magnet hospitals who have less than 50% BSN, frankly. So it's all across the spectrum. I've also seen hospitals who have well into the 90% BSN and above. So any questions on that, you can ask me anytime. I'm happy to try and clarify that. And I just actually in June celebrated 32 years. So it really is true. It just has flown by. All right, I'm going to share a screen. I think this will work here. There. If you can, if it works for you, I'd love for you to come off camera. We will be doing chat waterfalls. I love that Anita was talking about that. We do that also in my world. So get ready to type and chat. Also, I'll give you a little, I'm just fixing my screen here so I can see people on one screen and see my stuff on the other. Can you see my thing? Yeah. Okay. So
Chris, excuse me, Chris, somebody, Chris.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just reading somebody, or I think it was and maybe Praveen. Are you able to hear Chris? I could hear very, very low. Is everyone hearing her well? Anybody having a problem? Okay? I can hear you, but I don't know if that was, if you're having difficulty, type in the chat. I'm not seeing anything, so sorry to interrupt. She's very, very low is what they're saying. Somebody else says, sounds okay to me, I can hear. So how you make that work. I don't know. But anyway, so I don't know if it's the,
It's
you can
just
turn,
combination between the computer and
yeah, the
just
space, it's
Right.
the
It helps.
distance. Right?
the delay.
Does this help?
It's fine. I
That
mean,
makes it
the,
any better?
Okay. Just, I don't want them to miss anything, Chris. So,
I know. And I talk fast too.
yeah.
Can you hear me now though? Praveen, is that any better for you? Is better. I just did the
Okay.
volume on my phone.
Thank you.
How's that?
Off we
Is
go.
that better?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. So I'm happy to be with you, and you'll need either a paper or pen or pencil, or you can type in your phone at some point. I'm going to ask you to do a little activity. So it's going to be pretty interactive. I see a few people in chat. If the rest of you can like acknowledge you're here, go ahead. I want to make sure chat's working for you. I have my chat up so I can watch that too. All right. So don't cancel yourself. Let's go. I have no conflict of interest. I didn't even put that slide in. And we're going to talk, you will be able to explain at least 3 strategies for work-life balance and at least 1 method to make time for self-care. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Cassandra. I'm glad it's better. So for the next 30-ish minutes, and then hopefully we'll have time for a little discussion. And thanks, Deb. No worries. I know people have to come and go. I have to come and go too. So, I appreciate you're here for any part of this that you can be here. So we're going to acknowledge that we're in the 2nd year of the pandemic. Like, how can even that be possible? Sometimes it seems almost impossible. Explore self-care strategies and a call to action. So I think we have to keep acknowledging where we are. I was in a meeting with a vendor about some equipment and things they want to install in the hospital, and they wanted to put a clause in there that we could only cancel with like 5 days notice if they, or otherwise we'd have to pay a bunch of money. And I'm like, we're never going to agree to that. We're in a pandemic still. Like, we may need, anything could happen at any day, and a bunch of worker people coming into our hospitals to take rooms out of service could just have to be canceled in a minute. So, that's nothing we can agree to. So, there is research emerging daily. Now we're starting to see more research on the effects of the pandemic. So, just really stay tuned into what's coming out, and the effect on the mental health of people who have been under the prolonged stress of the pandemic. And there's a multiple loss theory. More is coming out with that, because the longer the pandemic goes on, it's harder and harder to find anyone who hasn't been affected personally and professionally by someone who has died. The first in-person event I went to was in June of this year, in 2021. And what I hadn't meant, it was already a big thing to just mentally prepare to be in a room with 22 other people, and who was wearing masks, and how we were going to sit. We were coming from all different parts of the country. And what I hadn't mentally prepared for, as we went around for this introductions, it was a 4-day-long event. Every single person, I lost my dad to COVID. I lost my dad and my uncle to COVID. My parents are both in the ICU, and every person, like immediate family members. So that we're going to just keep seeing, because more and more people are dying of COVID. And it is a war. I consider it a war. I tell people we're at war. The enemy is the virus. So 21 months later, where are we? It's hard to think. In April of 2020, there was only 1.72 people in the whole world, as far as we know. There was 1.7 million people. There's probably more people infected that will never be truly counted. As of, I pulled this number October, worldwide, there's been 4.8 million deaths from COVID. In the United States alone, 700,000. We've passed 700,000 deaths. So you can't not acknowledge that. We can't ignore that. We have to, that's the context with which people are still providing care at every level in the hospital. So, at 6 months, what did you start to hear at 6 months, right? That's when, people started to crack. I would say, like at 6 months, they were like, I'm losing it. These are actual quotes of things that people have said to me. I've like one person's like this week I just had it. I couldn't take it anymore. I walked away. People who were at home in the work from home felt the walls were closing in. One person said the only person I've talked to is my spouse, and we may not even like each other much after all this is over. So it just, and that was 6 months in, and now we're 21 months. And then this sort of kind of miraculous pickup thing happened about 11 months in. We got the vaccine, and while we had people who were like, I'm just tired, I just want it to be over. Homeschooling doesn't work. People with kids were like, I don't think my kids are learning anything. I'm not really sure their teachers know what they're doing. They were sending me pictures of their kids kind of slumped at the kitchen table, just like not engaged, just missing that social interaction. High school graduations were canceled, proms were canceled, sports were canceled. My husband's a football coach, high school football coach. It's like the season's on, the season's off, the season's on, the season's off, And then we got the vaccine. I started in vaccine clinics, working in vaccine clinics in the day, December 23rd. And, people said to me literally like, I don't know, you're giving me superpowers. One person sat in the chair. She goes, I don't know why I'm so emotional, and just cried through the whole thing. I'm like, I get it. I get where you're at. I get why you're feeling this. And then lots and lots of pictures and videos. When we started the community vaccines, there was when one of the community members came back and he saw me, he's like, oh, you have to give me your second shot. Look, you gave me the first one. He's showing me the video of him and I, like, from 3 weeks previous. So it felt like things were getting better, and we had the vaccine, and it was going to be over soon, and we were going to be okay. And then what happened? Variant came, right? And that darn enemy COVID morphed, and it really sent, I think, healthcare into a tailspin. I think it sent family and friends into a tailspin. And I will say the vaccine mandate, so I'm in California in the United States. We have a vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. September 30th or October 1st, depending on how you interpreted it, was the final day. And there are people who have lost their jobs because they refused to get a vaccine. There are people in leadership who refused. And it's not the high percentage. I think at my organization, we have 11,000 employees of all types. We ended up with 52 who resigned rather than get the vaccine. So just a perspective on that. Kaiser in the San Francisco Bay Area, Oakland Bay Area. Now Kaiser's reporting they've laid off thousands. So I'm not sure. They're a very big organization. So it's causing a divide. There are people who are like, I'm getting my booster now. I got my booster actually on Monday. Like, I'm getting my booster now, and there's people who won't even get their original vaccine. And then there's parts of the world who can't get any vaccine, and torn between what's right and what we should do. And it's dividing families. It's dividing friends and families. The holidays are coming. The CDC is coming out with holiday recommendations not to get together again, or open a window, or only get together outside. There are families that if you're not vaccinated, you can't come, we won't be around you. And I think the debates are getting harder and harder. And if you're on the healthcare side and you see someone in healthcare who's refusing the vaccine, it's very hard to understand. And then within families. So it's really causing this divide. So let's talk about the transition model. This is one of my favorite models. And since COVID, it's now probably my favorite model. And so William Bridges is a psychologist. He was from California. He ended up living in a commune of people who like to think about the world. So I tend to think about human experience, and it was kind of a place where people just got together and thought about stuff. But he came up with a transitions model that I think is quite amazing. And when you apply it to the pandemic, like so right on. And the first to just to set context is there's change and there's transition. So change is an event that happens. So change could be you get a new boss, you start going to school for your degree in nursing, you graduate from school, you start a new job. Those are all events. That's change. Transition, as Bridges describes it, is the psychological event or the psychological occurrences within a person that manages the change. So he divides it as 3 phases. So there's an end, there's a transition or neutral zone, and then there's a new beginning. So that's how a human experiences change. And so one of the ways he refers to this, and I just love this, is the nowhere between 2 somewheres. The nowhere between 2 somewheres. Something ends, that's 2019, actually till about, in the US until about February 2020, in California till March 2020. And then there's the nowhere, which I still think in many ways we're in the nowhere. We're between where we used to be and where we're going. And then the new somewhere is going to be how we live after this. And there's both positive and negative emotions all along the way. So there's, when something's ending, there's excitement. There's like maybe you've accomplished something. If you graduate from nursing school, that's usually an exciting, happy time. If you're ending a new job, if you're retiring maybe. But there's also like confusion, like you're not sure what's going to happen next, where am I going to go? And then in the neutral transition zone, there's anxiety, there's resistance, you're worried, but that's also where innovation happens. And there's been so much innovation from COVID, and we've all said there's things that have changed that we don't want to change back. We, at my organization, light speed increased our telehealth model, and it's actually been very good, and it's helped us to treat more people. It's helped us to access to care is very different now. I look frozen on the screen. Can you all still hear me? Yeah, okay. And then the new beginning is you get high energy, there's some relief, but there's also unsure, like, is this going to be okay? And to know when you're heading to that new somewhere is when you start hearing people say phrases like, what if? What if we did this? What if we tried that? You know they're pulling out of the nowhere into the new somewhere. Makes sense? Everybody with me? Can't see your faces, so you might have to type in chat. Yes or no? Okay, thanks, Danette. All right, yes, Cassandra. Okay, good. You guys are with me. All right, Deborah. Okay, so a few more concepts. I could actually talk for a whole hour just on the transition models. There's a lot of other concepts. One of the concepts of transition models, you have anchor. An anchor is the person who helps you through the transition. And so it could be your spouse, it could be your children, it could be one of your best friends, it could be your boss, but it's the person that keeps you from spinning out of control. It anchors you down. But one of the biggest concepts in transition is it's an anchor, it's not a port, right? Because you will never get to a new somewhere if you stay at the port. You have to let go to move forward. So how do you know that transition is in the air? Of what we just described, what emotions do you feel? You can type this in chat, do a little chat waterfall. How do you know? What are those emotions? I can put the last screen back up. You see anxiety. Yes. I see a lot of anxiety still. A lot of anxiety, fear of the unknown. There is excitement. I get excited every time I hear on the radio, like, numbers are going down, like, oh, or an event's come back. Any others? Right. I think some of you try and type in chat. Let us know you're here. Hope. We have hope. We have a lot of hope at City of Hope. It's a great place for that. Okay, moving on. So you need to learn to recognize that transitions are happening. You need to recognize it in your family, yourself, your friends. If you don't yourself recognize that you're going through a transition and acknowledge it in yourself, that's where it's going to come to the part about canceling yourself and not doing that. The bigger the issue, the longer the transition. So if we want to put in the history of our lives, like, where's the COVID pandemic going to lie? I think the COVID pandemic, I tell my husband, my daughters, I think the COVID pandemic is going to be like the Great Depression. Like, in like 10 years, we're like, oh, remember the pandemic. Remember the pandemic. Remember when we, didn't know where we'd get face masks tomorrow and we had to get gloves from anywhere we could. And, oh, remember when we had patients in the parking lots, or, remember when we had to build that wall and try and make a negative pressure area in a hospital that treats cancer patients and only has positive pressure buildings. So, that's what I think the pandemic is going to be. So in the scale of the bigger the issue, the longer the transition, this I think is pretty high on that scale. As a rule, William Bridges would say, humans do not handle transitions well. We tend to be people as a species, I guess you could say, we like things to stay the same. And so it's hard that things change. And in the neutral zone, in that nowhere between two somewheres, there is uncertainty. It's hard. So how do we help ourselves? Where are we going? And Robin, can you watch time for me? Because the one thing I can't see when I switch views is I can't see my clock anymore. So you could help me with time.
It's not. It's 9:14 or 11:14, and I just to make sure, so you don't have to. I will let you know, but you're on board till 11:35 probably, because I follow you, so you can have my time if you want. Anyway.
Okay. I don't want to take your time. You've got important things.
No. Anyway, so you probably got about 20 minutes, Chris.
Okay, good. Then we're doing good. Thank you. So I was speaking with one of the people I work with, and we were talking about something that she was going to do. To Anita's point, it was a mentoring thing, and she's like, oh, I just don't have time for it. I'm like, how do you not have time for it? I thought it was on your calendar. And she's like, oh, I canceled it because I can cancel myself. It's really easy, but I don't want to cancel my meetings with other people. And I was just like, oh, I was horrified, oh, you canceled yourself? That's not okay. So I'm on this kind of kick about don't cancel yourself. Don't cancel yourself. And if you're in any role where other people are watching what you're doing, and that could be as a sibling, that could be as a spouse, that could be as a parent, that could be as a leader, that could be as an informal leader. If you cancel yourself, you're sending that message that that's okay. And it's not. Just plain and simple, it's not okay to cancel yourself. So this applies to everybody. This is global nursing. It's you're the nurse for a reason. I like this one at the bottom. Let's give it another shot. I think it was obviously sort of talking about the vaccine, but the year of the nurse continues, right? So, if the World Health Organization and the CDC and ANA and everybody gets together and says, it is so important for the world, literally the world, to know how important nursing is. Remember, they did this before they knew the pandemic would happen, right? This decision for Year of the Nurse happened in 2019, long before we even knew what coronavirus was going to be. And so if there's any time, the whole entire world is telling you how important you are. So you need to believe that for yourself. Thank you, Cassandra. I agree with you. Not okay to give up yourself for others. So We're going to practice this. All right. So if you have 1 minute, what could you do? Right now, I want you to put in chat waterfall. That's right, Anita. I want you to put in chat waterfall 3 things you're grateful for. Type them in. Wait. Ready, set, go. My timer right now. All right, 3 things that you're grateful for. Yep. Hey, this is good, you guys. Okay, you have 30 more seconds. If you haven't done it yet, find 3 things that you're grateful for. 20 seconds left. You can do it. There's 20-something of you on. If you can't type in chat, or if you're like on your phone and can't figure out chat, you can just write down a piece of paper or type it into the notes section in your phone. Right. A lot of togetherness. Oh, okay. That's it. Ah, stop. Right. So, in 1 minute, you didn't cancel yourself for 1 minute. If you put 1 minute every day, you could write down 3 things you're grateful for. I do mine in the morning. Some people do their gratitude journals or their gratitude statements or whatever you want to talk about it at the end of the day. They reflect. Oh, I like their triple H's there. They reflect on their day and they write down the things they're grateful for. I like to do it at the beginning of the day. So before I leave for work, I have a little notebook and I write down the 3 things I'm grateful for. And I do that purposely at the beginning of the day because I want to start my mindset for the day with positivity, right? Like I want to start with like, these are the things that I am grateful for. And I am so lucky to have them. And like literally every single time, I don't limit myself to 3. I just write down whatever I want to write down. I don't always follow rules, although I'm personality type as a rule follower, but I let myself write as many. And I always that my husband and my 2 daughters are safe and healthy, and thank God I've been able to write that every day. But yeah, it's a way to start the day with a healthy mindset, so you can think about that. The other thing I want to tell you about is if you have 1 minute, if you just have 1 minute, like your day is so busy, but you won't have 1 minute that you can give. If there's anybody here who does not have 1 minute, you can send me an email. I'll type my email in chat and we'll talk about how I can find 1 minute for you. Is Action for Happiness. I'm a big fan of Action for Happiness. They're out of the UK. And they publish a monthly calendar. It's free. You just type in actionforhappiness.org. They have lots of other resources. They have lots of other things for just promoting happiness in the world. They've been around for a while, long before the pandemic. But every month they have a theme calendar, and there's like something you can do every single day. And so it's Optimistic October right now. So there's the October calendar. So today, make progress on a project or a task you've been avoiding. Yesterday was look for the good in the people around you today. So there's just a little reminder, a little something that you can do. And it just takes a minute to look at that and reset your mind. I will say at the beginning of the year, there was also a thing about jump back June or something. No, it was earlier than that. Anyway, it was something in February. So maybe it's jump back January. So, and it was like work on something that you haven't been able to work on. So I decided to work on something for my family, which is figuring out, in the COVID, we had kind of given up on burying my father-in-law's ashes. It just became too hard. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And so that very day, I started like, he needed a military burial. So I like Googled how to do a military burial. And I'm happy to say we got into his final resting place on August 16th. So it just helps you. Just think about, something that you can do. All right. So I encourage you to check them out. All right. If you have 5 minutes, Your day is so busy, you can't schedule like a whole big thing, but you can carve out 5 minutes. You can actually, in your calendar, end a meeting like 10 minutes early. Then you have 10 minutes. If you had 5 minutes, thank you, Cassandra. Yeah, it was tough. If you do a yoga stretch, it's so good. We could do that right now. You could just get like a sun salutation. Like you've been sitting at a computer, just standing up. Let me back up here. Just standing up and like reaching your arm and stretching your neck back and saying hello to the sun. Even if you're in an office, you know the sun is up there somewhere, right? So reach back and stretch. There's great little stretches and yoga things that you can find online. I put this link. I think they'll hopefully send out our presentations to everybody. Christine, you're going to do that. Is that right? Oh, and Cassandra, I'm sorry about losing your mom. It's hard. It's been a hard year of loss. So chair yoga is one of the things if you've ever been to a ResearchGate talk before, I did one, I think the first one I did with you guys in September 2020, was it? I actually did the chair yoga during this session because I think it's so great to do. And so this particular chair yoga one, it's 5 minutes, and you search up chair yoga 5 minutes or chair yoga 10 minutes, and they lead you right through it. But this gal, I really like her because she's outside. So you see someone sitting outside. She's leading you through a very nice, gentle stretching and yoga. Sitting in her chair. You hear some birds in the background. It's just a great setting, and and one part of it to stretch your shoulders, which your shoulders can get really hunched over when you're like working on a computer and you're typing. You tend to hunch forward. So she does this one, and she says, draw circles with your elbows. You gotta do this. And you go back, and I'm like, oh, drawing circles with your elbows. Like, doesn't that sound fun? So, you can do that in 5 minutes. The other thing that is a 5-minute sort of thing for yourself is meta meditation. And I will tell you, I'm also a huge fan of meta meditation. I'll tell you how I found out about it in a few minutes. But meta meditation is a Buddhist positivity type meditation. It's also called a loving kindness meditation, is another name for it. And really, it's I call it like a 4-part harmony. So you do it for yourself, for someone you love, and the version that I do. So you do the first round for yourself. The second round is for someone you love. I put my husband and daughters together, so I do it for 3 people. And then the part that I think is the most powerful part of this, doing it this way, is you do it for somebody that you're having struggles with. Somebody that's giving you angst. Somebody that you have some maybe negative anger towards. And then you end with for the whole world. And so you say it 5 times for each round, basically. So may you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may your mind be at ease. So you do the first round for yourself, and you are wishing this for yourself. May you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may your mind be at ease. So it really sets you down. And then the second round, when you do it for someone or someones that you love, you have to have a good mental picture of them. So you have to picture them in your mind and hold that picture in your mind as 5 times. May you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may your mind be at ease. And then the third round, you're picturing that person that you're having angst for, and I will tell you, it is very powerful because it helps you see that person differently. So you hold a picture of that person or persons in your mind, but what you're saying to them is, may you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may your mind be at ease. And it lets you think of the situation and the person in a different way. And then in the last one, you put it out to the whole world. Something you can do in a group, but something you can do individually also. But I do it individually quite often. And when I put it out to the world, I'm really putting it out with my lens of healthcare, and I'm putting it out to the global healthcare warriors who are trying to get us through. So I put another one in here. This is a 3-round one where it's I, you, and we. And the you can do twice for both someone you love and someone you have angst with. Oh, yes. Danette, I'm glad you love chair yoga. It's so awesome, isn't it? So I'll tell you how I learned about meditation was this book. So this is a book. Dan Harris is a news broadcaster in the United States. He's like on world news or something. I have to tell you, I don't really watch the news. I tend to just kind of have people tell me when things happen or look at my phone for quick sound bites. But like news just was a little bit too harsh for me in my mental state. So, and there's just too much negativity. So anyway, I didn't know Dan Harris really that well, but the book had been recommended to me, and it's really an autobiography. It's Dan Harris's kind of journey through how he learned about how to live a better life. And he talks about he goes to one retreat that's a silent retreat, and he like explores all these different things, and one of them was meditation, and he does meditation now. And his whole thing was, I don't want to like change my whole life. I only want to just get 10% happier. So that's why it's called 10% Happier. But it's a great book. It really is. He's very readable and really talks through, like, it's one person's journey to kind of find a way to have more ease, be at ease mentally. So if you have 10 minutes, what could you do? So mindful meditation, a little bit longer than meta meditation. I'm still not great at mindfulness meditation because I heard this thing that like you think 60,000 thoughts like an hour or something, and I'm like, God, like your brain just like jumps to all these different things. But sometimes I think my brain must like do double time sometimes. So like I'm just terrible at, you know, you're supposed to be like meditating and you have like the blue sky, and then like if a thought comes, you put the thought on a cloud and let it fly away. And I'm like, I have all these clouds because I keep thinking of other things. I'm like, gosh, I'm just not good at it. So I think maybe 2022 I'll make it a goal to be study mindful meditation a little bit more and get better at it. But there's lots of apps out there, Headspace, Will, WHIL dot. And that comes from where there's a will, there's a way. So, you know, there's different things to help you with meditation. I like going outside. It really helps me. Just taking a walk, even if my mind wanders, I do love to take in nature. We have a beautiful campus here at City of Hope. You can just walking from a building to another building, you can see all kinds of flowers. You can see lizards running around. You see some rabbits go by. Trees are in bloom. Then there's like construction. And then even if you like desert landscape, rocks, and like there's not really a lot of, some parts of it, not a lot. This is my background is actually the Japanese. We have a Japanese garden at City of Hope. So you can go to the Japanese garden, you see the turtles and the koi fish. So I picked this picture. So I'm Italian, and in the lockdown in Italy, the balconies became the savior for people. And there was an article there's an Italian newspaper that we get in the United States called Italo Americano, and there's a concept called prendere al fresco, which means, I don't know, literally translated into English, it's sort of like catch the cool, not like being cool, but like the outdoor cool. It's like take in the freshness. And so in this picture here, there's I picked this one. There's lots of pictures of, and I'm sure all over Europe, but Italians out on their balconies during the lockdown. And in some places, they used to go out a certain time every night. New York started doing this, where they would go outside and like bang their pots together. Some would go outside and clap for healthcare workers. In this picture, it was a Italian personal trainer who was on her balcony leading across the street other people in stretch movements on their balcony. And I love like the multi-generational, I don't know if you can see it in this picture, but there's, you know, a little little person here doing their little stretch. I think this is maybe an older person sitting down doing their stretch, and then some people standing up doing their stretches. So, you know, you can have 10 minutes and just go outside. If you work inside, just go outside. There is lots of research that shows fresh air, taking in nature makes a difference. So let yourself do that. If you have a class or a meeting that ends early, or someone goes, oh, it's, you know, we're going to have a break now. And you go, oh, I have a break. I can answer 55 emails in like 10 minutes, you know, or you could actually really take a break and really go outside. So anyway, I just love people on their balconies and doing that. It's not a great picture. Oh, Cassandra, you live by a lake and a river. That is excellent. Fabulous. If you have 30 minutes, if you have a half hour, you can really get into some guided imagery. Guided imagery is not, to me, a 5-minute thing. Guided imagery takes a little bit longer than that. It's focus relaxation. It helps kind of mind, body, spirit. And I would experiment with guided imagery. There are many, many different ones across the globe. And there's different voices, there's different levels of soothingness. So, you know, if the first one you're like, this doesn't really work for me, try a different one. And then they have focus. They have guided imagery for relaxation. If you have trouble sleeping, they have guided imagery for sleep. They have now ones for weight loss. If you have a resource at your organization, we have a wonderful physician who leads a lot of healing. It's called Schwartz Rounds here, where there's they talk about things that have happened that have been, you know, difficult, and coping, a lot of coping. So we did a healing for the heart event here. I kind of like this sort of some of the things Anita was talking about. So we did healing for the heart after there was a thing happened in the United States where Asian women were killed in a mass shooting, and we have many, many Asian staff at our hospital, and we really wanted to be supportive, and we really wanted to reach out, and so we did a healing for the heart event, and we had a custom guided meditation by Dr. Banerjee, and it was just wonderful. So, you know, reach out to someone who can maybe do a custom guided imagery and let them know, you know, just let them know the themes of what's going on. They can help with the guided imagery for you. The other thing I'll promote is working out and exercising. You know, if you can do 30 minutes a day, it doesn't have to be all together. You can do 10 minutes at a time, 3 different times during the day. You can stretch it out, but it really, you know, research shows it improves your health and it increases your longevity. So I think one of the most staggering things about the pandemic is in the United States, the average life expectancy has dropped. In 1 year, we have had so many deaths. I mean, if you think about that across all the people in the United States that die, we have dropped our average life expectancy just 1 year in just 1 year, because of the pandemic, we've dropped the life expectancy in the United States. So everything we can do to help ourselves be healthy, have great immune systems, if you get sick, to be able to fight it off, please do. So if you have hours, if right now we said, guess what? Not right now, after the conference. After the conference, we said, guess what? You now have 1 to 2 hours. You can do anything you want. We have a magic wand. You can do anything you want. You have no other responsibilities. What would you do? Write it down in the chat. You had 1 to 2 hours. What would you do? Or what? Everybody's, I think we've lost them. It's too hard to think about. You had 1 to 2 hours. You can do anything you want. Oh, play with your grandson. Excellent. Love that. Oh, bake, hiking. Good. All right. So we've got some good ones. Exercise, spend time with your spouse. Excellent. Sorry, so it's happening on my phone. Be in your garden. Oh, love gardening. I'm actually gonna have a place with a backyard soon. Okay, So now my challenge to you is going to be, I want every single person to look at their calendar and find 1 hour to do what you said you wanted to do. Like you're going to do it. So I want you to look at your calendar and I want you to do one thing. I want you to do one thing. I need to tell somebody I'm still teaching. I want you to find 1 hour on your calendar right now that you can do it. I want you to do it. Cassandra's going to do it because her grandson's coming. That's a great thing. Like, usually kids don't want to wait. They'll be like, Mom, Grandma, can we do it now? All right. If you had a day or days, where would you go? Where is the place that you want to see? You might be in a place you'd love to go, but because of COVID, you haven't been able to, or maybe it's just you thought, I don't want to go by myself, or not sure what they're, doing for COVID mitigation or whatever. But where would you go? Like, nothing will ever happen if you don't consciously think about it. Yay, Anita, I'm glad you did it. If you don't consciously think about it and make a plan, it's not going to happen. Like, say, I want to go to the ocean. I want to see the beach. I miss seeing the waves so much. Oh yeah, Deborah, I'm with you, beach. No magic person's gonna drive up in a car and pick you up and take you there. That's not gonna happen. It's only gonna happen if you write it down and you make it happen, because you matter, right? Matter. So this is a quote I end a lot of talks with because it's one of my favorite ones. Archbishop Oscar Romero. And he said, we can't do everything. We can't. We cannot do everything. And there's a sense of liberation in realizing that, because that enables us to do something and do it very well. So you can do something. You can do, every single person can do 1 minute. And a lot of you could probably even do a whole day if you tried. You can at least do 30. You can make it even a half a day, but you might not be able to do it all. You might not be able to do it all every day, but you can do something and not cancel yourself. So, what are you going to schedule? Anita already did that. Yes, travel. I know. Oh, Clearwater Beach, Florida. I have not been there. Tahoe. Yep, Tahoe, Yosemite. All right. Those things are not going to happen if you don't make a plan. If you're going to go with somebody, if there's somebody you want to go with, you call that somebody up tonight or send them a text today on break. Say, I just was at this class and they were talking about going somewhere and I want to go to Tahoe. When are we going to go? Or if it's you, just Google Tahoe, open rental, VRBO. And if COVID is holding you back, you can look up just about every city and hotel, lodging, whatever. They all explain what they're doing, do what makes you comfortable, and pick something to do. All right, if you want to share in the chat box what you're going to do, feel free. Here's some references, and here's my contact. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk with you. You can email me. If you're a person who doesn't even have 1 minute, definitely email me, because I will look at your calendar with you and help you find 1 minute. So thank you.